Hey, what's that?
Stop! Come on!
Hostage. Not good.
This installment of the Amazing Spider-Man 2 game is the second movie-based Spider-Man game that the devs at Beenox have developed. However, they are not new to this Spider-Man world. They are also the people behind Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions and Spider-Man Edge of Time. And getting to don the famous Spidey outfit and swing through Manhattan fighting crime is something everybody can enjoy, and we were excited to get our hands on the game. However, during our review, we found the overall experience to be a bit of a letdown, and the technical issues in the game can't be ignored. The first thing that comes to mind, at least for us when playing a Spider-Man game, is being able to swing through the city. It's one of those things that has to be right. I mean, Spider-Man isn't Spider-Man if he's not swinging through New York in his acrobatic style. However, we found the swinging mechanics to be frustrating to learn. So check out this shot. It's at the very beginning of the game and your first glimpse at Spider-Man. Suddenly, he leaps off the side of the building and you're diving toward the ground. This is the moment you become Spider-Man, and it's exciting. But our excitement was short-lived as we slam into the side of the building and almost come to a complete stop. We try to catch our bearings and continue forward, but instead we swing back the other direction. So one of the strangest things about the swinging mechanics is that as you stick to a building, Spider-Man moves toward it like a magnet, causing you to slam into the side. Now, with some practice, you can get used to it, and it is enjoyable to swing your way through the city streets, waiting till that last second to shoot your web. But the swinging mechanics could have used a bit more work, although we really liked how the right and left triggers control his right and left hands, which was a really cool feature that the devs put in. Now, when it came to the character modeling, there are quite a few issues we couldn't help but notice. The biggest issue was in the proportions of the characters. Now, Spidey looked pretty good. The NPCs, on the other hand, were a different story. For example, watch as we zoom in on the thug leaning up against the wall. What seems strange to you? Well, check out the size of his head compared to his body. It's tiny. His torso is very long and his legs are short. And not only that, but his shoes are bigger than his head. Along with the strange proportions, the character models were very low resolution. Watch as we interrogate this guy. His jacket and collar has some very faceted edges that are hard not to miss. And here's another example, this time with a cop NPC. His tie isn't even geometry, it's all just a texture. So as you would expect, the most attention was spent on Spidey and his suit. And it showed. While the texturing modeling is not groundbreaking, it was well done. However, for some of the other main characters, the same can't be said. In this shot, we're talking to Aunt May, and it's obvious a lot of the detail for the character had to be created during the texturing process. The texture artists did have their work cut out for them in this game because they needed to create detail where there really wasn't any. But even then, textures can only go so far. A character like Aunt May is going to get quite a bit of screen time, so it would have been nice if the devs spent a little more time getting her closer to Spider-Man's detail level. As mentioned previously, there were some proportion issues with the character modeling. Well, the same issue can be found in the environment modeling as well. In this shot, we're playing as Peter Parker in Aunt May's house. And take a look at this door. I mean, this is a huge door compared to Peter Parker. And we notice the same issue in the props as well. In this shot, we're watching a reporter on the news, and that mic alone is almost the size of her head. Now, while these proportion issues are not game-breaking, they are hard not to notice, and even these small things pull you out of the immersion of a game. There are also some issues in the environment texturing as well. For example, take a look at the brick to the left of the doorway here. If we pause it, you can see the noticeable seam running straight down the corner, and the texture itself is extremely low resolution. However, when we cut to this shot, the brick wall, while not amazing, it doesn't look that bad. This made the environment textures very inconsistent. One brick wall would look fine, and the other would be a glaring lower quality. This is something that could have been avoided with a little more communication between the artists. We also found a few more instances where the seams on the textures were in plain sight and actually didn't match up. For example, we're in one of the boss battles against the Shocker, and watch what happens as we knock him back. Now, it might be hard to ignore the fact that he goes straight through the geometry, but if you can for just a moment, as we pause it right here, take a look at the seam running straight through the middle of the pipe. And not only that, but the texture does not match up. Simply having a seam on the underside of the pipe would have completely hidden this issue, and the only problem then would have been the fact that Shocker penetrates completely through the pipe. So when it came to the animation, it overall just felt very rigid. You expect Spidey to be fluid and move with ease, but everything just felt jerky. There were a few nice acrobatic animations as Spidey would swing through the city, but even those didn't have that fluidity that you expect. An important trait of Spider-Man is the fact that he can climb on walls. However, the climbing animations were very awkward and had no sense of weight to it. It felt as if the arms and legs were moving up and down with absolutely no effort. Another problem we found with the animation was in the lip sync and facial animation. For one, there was hardly any facial animation involved, maybe a few eyebrow raises here and there, but that was about it. And the poses for the lip sync had no defined phonemes, and it looked as if the jaw was simply opening and closing. The audio was poorly matched with the lip sync as well. Take a look at this shot right here, so you can see an example of the lack of facial poses and the delay between the lip sync and audio.
Carradine has been identified as the perpetrator in last year's shooting of Queens resident Benjamin Parker. Some New Yorkers we spoke to applaud the fact that violent criminals are being taken off the streets.
Hey, somebody wants to clean up the trash. I say more power to them.
It's almost as if the lip sync was animated well before the audio was ever recorded. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 has definitely got a lot of technical issues that cannot be overlooked, especially when looking at it from an artistic standpoint. That being said, it's always fun to get to play as the Webhead and swing around Manhattan fighting crime. So if you can get past the technical issues of the game, there's definitely some fun to be had, because who wouldn't want to play as Spider-Man? If you want to share your thoughts on the game or our review of it, be sure to post them in the comments below. And if you haven't already, add us on Xbox Live or PlayStation Network with the gamertag Digital-Tutors.